The number of domestic violence calls area law enforcement get is astounding. Since the start of 2015 in Topeka, more than 12,000. The Shawnee County Sheriff's Office saw another 1,400, and Riley County Police handled more than 1,600 calls. But it's the calls they aren't getting we're looking at tonight. People threatened by their partners, but also fearful because they're in the country illegally. Advocates are working to break down barriers to let them know they can get help to be safe and bring the abusers to justice. Erica Gutierrez believed in the American dream for herself and her children, Orlando and Fernanda.
It's a better life for my kids and me.
Bravo.
Until it became a nightmare.
He hit me on my eye, and he closed my eye. And that happens every weekend, sometimes 2 or 3 times a week.
Still, she stayed. 10 years ago, her then-husband brought Erica and her children, who were ages 2 and 4, across the border from Mexico illegally. It became another weapon against her.
Decía que podía ser deportada.
He told her that she was going to be deported. He told her he was going to take away her children.
Finally, one night last year, Orlando had enough. Erica's husband came home drunk and angry.
He take me to my room, and he grabbed a knife and he put a knife on me. I don't thinking about nothing else, just my kids. And finally, Orlando, he decides to call the police.
It brought Erica to the YWCA Center for Safety and Empowerment, where they're seeing more and more non-citizens seeking protection.
For a long time, those folks stayed hidden in our community. People who are using abuse to control their partner in these relationships are absolutely exploiting the status of non-citizen victims as a way to have even more control than in typical abusive relationships.
And what Erica and other victims who are in the country illegally have learned is that escaping abuse doesn't have to mean getting sent straight back across the border.
If they are willing to be helpful in an investigation or in a prosecution, they are eligible for a U visa.
Congress created the U visa to allow victims of certain crimes who cooperate to get a visa for themselves and their families and eventually apply for lawful permanent residence. Carly McPeak is an immigration attorney for the Kansas Coalition Against Sexual and Domestic Violence.
Violent crimes were happening in immigrant communities, and because of the fear of coming forward, people would not report crimes. And so what it really is it's a tool for law enforcement and prosecutors.
But demand has quickly outpaced availability. Congress set an annual cap of 10,000 U visas, which it's reached every year since it started issuing them in 2008. In fact, this year it hit the limit in 3 months. Meantime, the waiting list has grown to nearly 80,000.
It's taking over 2 years right now for them to process newly submitted cases.
But there is hope for those waiting and willing to cooperate in cases of violent crime. Those who have their paperwork in are considered low priority for enforcement, and once approved, it's called deferred action, under which the victim can get legal authorization to hold a job. Addressing the backlog would take Congress acting to increase the cap. While they understand immigration issues can be a political hot button, advocates for the abused say this is different.
I can't imagine saying you're not worthy of assistance. We have a moral imperative to provide services to people who are being victimized, no matter where they come from.
What would have happened had you stayed with your husband?
Probably he killed me.
Erica is determined to see her dreams come true. She has a job and also is working to start her own dessert catering business.
We have a new life.
She's moving forward. Erica wants to inspire other women to do the same.
Don't be afraid. You have something better than that.
Law enforcement must sign off on U visa applications. The Topeka Police Department told me they certified 45 of them last year and 23 so far this year. Nearly half of those were for domestic or sexual assault victims. If you are in an abusive situation, you can get confidential help from the YWCA or the Kansas Crisis Line. The numbers and links are on our app and also on WIBW.com. So the resources are there, Ralph. And we want to say when we started looking into this topic, this isn't a political story. We didn't mean to bring up a political debate. This is a human story, and the question was, what happens to these victims? And we found these resources that are out there, and we also have other resources, especially with the human trafficking situation that has been coming more and more to the forefront, where this is going to become even more of an issue.
Okay, we'll see what kind of an issue this is, Melissa, in 2017. And also in your story, we can see the great work of the CSE, the Center for Safety and Empowerment, that the YWCA has always had here in Topeka.